I think it's safe to say that whenever a new season of a show comes out, people either expect it to be even better than a previous season or at least be as enjoyable as the previous season. Some shows may start off rough but then get better with each season, while other shows may start off strong but gradually loses its enjoyment quality. In the case of Star vs. the Forces of Evil, the show is like Danny Phantom, in which the first 2 seasons are great but the 3rd season suck. Though season 3 of Star vs. the Forces of Evil is way better than the 3rd season of Danny Phantom. From the moment the season 2 finale ended, I had so many questions for season 3. How will Star revealing her crush on Marco affect her friendship with him and Jackie? What is Taffy's master plan? Will Jackie be more involved in the series in season 3? What's the history between Moon and Taffy? So when the trailer for Battle for Muni came out, I was super excited for it. It seemed like the Battle for Muni was going to be the Wilmageddon of the show, so to speak. Yet after watching Battle for Muni when it finally premiered, I found it really underwhelming. There were some cool elements, but for the most part, it really didn't live up to the hype that the trailers was building it up to be. Now, even though the season 3 premiere was underwhelming, I figured the show could only go up from there. Man, was I wrong. Now, before I tear into all the things that I disliked about season 3, I think it's fair to talk about the things I liked about it, because there were some good things about season 3. First of all, I love Eclipse. She is such a likable character, and whenever she's on screen, it's always a joy to watch. She's basically like a grown-up version of Star, but less hyper, with her being innocently mischievous and mellow. Not only do I love her interactions with Moon and Star, I love that her storyline ended up connecting with Meteora's storyline. Speaking of which, that was another thing I liked about season 3, the whole story about Meteora. Ever since it was revealed that Meteora had cheek marks like the Butterfly family, I've been really interested in both her past and her connection to the family. While season 2 didn't really do anything worth mentioning with Meteora, season 3 delivered big time. The reveal that Meteora was Eclipse's daughter totally blew my mind. From there, the storyline just got better as we learned more about Meteora's past and just how terrible her life was. Seriously, her parents were in prison, she was stripped of her royal title due to being half monster, and was raised by an overbearing robot who kept suppressing her monster parts. She ended up becoming a way better villain than Taffy, who I'll get into in just a bit. Plus, there was this great scene that made Meteora even more awesome.
Oh, you know what? You are clearly going through some things that actually I'm just gonna circle back later. Wow.
The things they did with Ludo and Dennis was also great. Seriously, I remembered how in season 1 I really didn't think much of Ludo. He was just your typical comedic secondary villain to fill time while you waited for the true villain of the series. But ever since his development in season 2, he really has become a compelling character, and I love the fact that he became more than just a comedic villain. I really found it interesting how out of everyone in the family, Dennis seemed to be the only person in the family who cares about Ludo because he actually admires him. A couple of other things I liked about season 3 was the allegory of racism they did with the monsters, Star's storyline on trying to become a better princess, seeing more of Kelly, Star and Moon becoming closer with each other, the episode with Moon as a teenager, and of course the fantastic season finale. Now that I talked about all the things I liked about season 3, I can now rip the season apart for all the things that I disliked about it. Out of all the things that I hated about season 3, the thing I hated the most was the fact that Tom and Star started dating each other again. Look, if you like Tom Star, fine, more power to you, but for me, Tom Star was not only totally unnecessary, but also totally bland. Seriously, I didn't think the show would go with the main character hooking up with their ex cliche, considering what was established in season 2. In the episode Mr. Candle Chaos, we had a scene in which Tom realizes that as much as he wants to be with Star again, he can't force her into a relationship that she doesn't want to be a part of. Now this was a good step for Tom's character development, and I was hoping that the next step of his development would be him and Star becoming friends. But instead of exploring a storyline that would develop Tom's character, the staff went backward and had him and Star started dating again in season 3. Now I think I know what the writers are trying to do. One of Star's biggest flaws is that she tends to run away from problems instead of confronting them. At the time of Club Snubbed, she was emotionally vulnerable since she revealed to Marco that she has a crush on him but didn't really have a conversation with Marco about it. Instead, she and Marco bid their goodbyes and Marco went back to Earth. I think it's safe to say that the reason Star rushed into a relationship with Tom is to get over her feelings for Marco, which really isn't too far-fetched since it makes sense with her character. Likewise, this is to demonstrate how Tom's biggest character flaw is letting go of Star in a romantic sense since he didn't even question why he and Star are suddenly back together. While it's an interesting idea on paper, I really think it was unnecessary. We didn't need Tom and Star to get back together for them to develop even further. Having them be two exes who learn to become friends is a fine way to develop their characters. Plus, it's not like we needed Tom Star to be a thing to prevent Star and Marco from becoming a couple. We could have simply either have Star be a bit distant from Marco, or like in the show, both characters don't bring up the events of Star Crush until they are trapped in the photo booth together. This would also provide a chance for Tom to be the one who tells Marco that he has a crush on Star, which makes more sense than Tad having to be the one who points that out to Marco. It would have been a good step in Tom's development if he was the one who told Marco that, since while he will always have feelings for Star, he knows that there was something special between Marco and Star. I also hated that we had so many episodes dedicated to Tom and Star together, but we only had like one episode dedicated completely to Marco and Jackie. Speaking of Marco and Jackie, that brings me to Janco. Now unlike Tom Star, I like Janco since 1, the show made me care about their relationship, and 2, I find it to be cute. As great as season 2 was, one of my biggest issues with that season was how after the events of Bon Bon the Birthday Clown, we never saw Jackie a lot, nor did we get a solo episode just featuring her and Marco. I really found this to be a bummer since I really liked Jackie as a character and her relationship with Marco. So with how season 2 ended, I was really hoping that Jackie would be more involved in season 3. After all, despite how awkward things may be, Star is still Jackie's friend and it would make sense if Jackie went to Muni with Marco. Yet instead of having Jackie be more involved in the show, the staff practically wrote her out of the series completely, which really ticks me off. Jackie is a likable character, and even though I knew Janco would end since Stalker is more than likely to happen, I was hoping that Jackie wouldn't just be written out of the show. It honestly makes me mad that Jana has been more involved with Marco and Star life than Jackie. Look, I like Jana, but Jackie shouldn't have fewer appearances than Jana when you consider that she was Marco's love interest and was also friends with Star. Just because a main character ends their romantic relationship with a character doesn't necessarily mean they need to be written out of the show. Asami still stuck around after she and Marco broke up. But the biggest controversy and tone of shipping in the fandom is the infamous Stalker kiss. As I've mentioned multiple times, I love Stalker. It's my OTP of the show. But I didn't want their first kiss to happen when one of them was already in a relationship. When it didn't happen in season 2, I honestly thought that the writers wouldn't have Star and Marco kiss while Star was dating Tom, since season 2 avoided so many of the typical love triangle cliches. Yet as season 3 proved, they decided to do all the annoying love triangle cliches. I have mixed feelings about the kiss. On the one hand, of course I'm happy they kissed. After all, it's every shipper's dream to see their OTP finally share a kiss. Yet on the other hand, I really hated that it happened during the time when Star was dating Tom. The kiss sparked a bunch of arguments between fans of the show, with people saying that Marco forced himself on Star or that Star cheated on Tom. I'm not even going to try to tackle that discussion, but all I will say that in my opinion, I believe that the kiss was mutual on both sides. Now that I got my thoughts on all the shipping nonsense out of the way, I can focus on things that are a bit more important, such as the story and characters. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I found Battle for Muni to be really underwhelming, and it's for multiple reasons. One of the things that really annoyed me about the Season 3 premiere movie was that despite the fact that it was called Battle for Muni, there was one little thing missing: an actual battle! Seriously, how can you name your Season 3 premiere Battle for Muni but not have any actual action? Heck, when you think about it, the Season 3 finale should have been called Battle for Muni since there was an actual battle happening that would determine the fate of Muni. Though the fact that there wasn't even no battling wasn't even the thing that bothered me the most about the premiere. For one, I found Star to be really annoying in the special. Look, I get that Star is headstrong and isn't really the kind of character who comes up with a plan, but considering the situation she and her mom were in, you would think she would take things a little bit more seriously. In the movie, Moon had an entire talk with Star about how they needed to be careful and how Toffee killed her mother, yet Star still storms the castle without an actual plan. Then there's the whole matter of Toffee. Seriously, talk about a villain with so much potential being completely wasted. After 2 seasons of build-up, I thought we would finally learn about his past and motivations, yet all we learned about him was that he killed Moon Mom and led a monster army. Now look, a villain can work as a character even if you don't know their backstory. Look at Bill Cipher and Lord Dominator. Both are awesome villains, yet we barely know anything about their past. But in my opinion, I really think it was important to further develop Toffee due to all the hype the show made around him. I remember reading somewhere that a staff member compared Toffee to Magneto in the case that, like Magneto, Toffee takes a more violent approach for the equal treatment of monsters. But the thing that's missing is, why did Toffee think this way? Why did he think he needed to take a violent approach for monsters to be treated fairly? I'm also still confused as to how Toffee corrupted all the magic in the universe. Like, because his finger was inside Star 1, it allowed him to corrupt the magic? What sense does that make? There's also a couple of other minor things that bug me about the event, such as River episode being pointless, but those things don't bother me as much as Star character in the premiere and Toffee wasted potential. Marco was also another element of Season 3 that I didn't like. Now Marco is a great character and he was enjoyable for the first 2 seasons, but man was he annoying for the first half of Season 3. Starting from sophomore slump up until sleep spells, he was mostly an unlikable character. I know a lot of people really hated his behavior in sophomore slump, but I'm willing to forgive him for his actions in that episode since 1, it was clear that when he kept talking about Muni, he just missed Star, and 2, he at least apologized for his behavior in that episode. But after that episode, he acts very out of character and was just very unlikable. Thankfully, he started becoming likable again around the time of the mid-season finale, but yeah, I have no idea why the staff had Marco so out of character for that string of episodes. While Season 3 did have its fair share of enjoyable moments, its overall quality just took a dive in my opinion. Between Battle for Muni being underwhelming, Marco being unlikable for half the season, and all the romance drama, it's my least favorite season of the show. I do think Season 4 will turn out much better, especially with how Season 3 ended. There are many things to explore in Season 4, such as what's next for Eclipsa, where's Moon, what's the mystery of the Blood Moon, and what's the deal with Marco moon-shaped cheek marks. Though for Season 4 to be better than Season 3, there are 2 things I'd like to see. First, end Tom Saw as soon as possible, preferably in the first episode. I do not want them to ignore this plot point for most of the season, with Tom and Saw not breaking up till near the end of season 4. Tom Saw is a waste of time, and in all honesty, I think Tom breaking up with Star would be a good move for his character. While he has gotten better, he still has some things he needs to work out about himself, so he should focus more on himself instead of a romantic relationship. The whole love triangle drama in season 3 was terrible, and I really do not want to put up with that for another season. Seriously, so many fans got annoyed by the romance in season 3 that they dropped the series. Secondly, don't have Star and Marco instantly become a couple. While I do want them to be a couple, I do think it's important for Marco and Star to re-strengthen their friendship before taking it to the next level. If they instantly became a couple at the start of season 4, I feel like it would cheapen the moment. So what did you think of season 3? Did you find it to be enjoyable, or do you think it's the weakest season of the series? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to give this video a thumb up and click the subscribe button. If you want to follow me on social media sites, you can find the links for them in the description box below. Until next time, this is PC, logging off.